Culture gaps. Culture gaps. Culture gaps. Culture gaps. Culture gaps.
Welcome to Culture Gaps, the podcast where we talk about famous movies that one or both of us has not seen. My name is Greg.
And I'm Mike.
And today we are going to be talking about a movie called Interview with the Vampire.
A vampire. Wait, what?
Interview with the
a
vampire. The vampire.
Who's the vampire then?
That's something that we'll need to watch the movie to find out.
You know, either way, A is singular as well, right? Like, it would still be a vampire.
Yeah, but it's, indefinite article. It implies that it's just one of many. This is like the definitive vampire.
Yeah.
Although this movie does have multiple vampires, so that's why I'm confused about it. But.
Yeah. This is already throwing me off. People
Here's
like
my
this.
guess. Here's my guess. The framing structure of this movie is that somebody is interviewing a very old vampire who's describing events that happened hundreds of years ago, and the bulk of the movie takes place hundreds of years ago, but it's actually the story that's being told in the interview. And that's why it's Interview with the Vampire, because there's only one vampire telling the story. That's my guess.
No.
No. I haven't seen it, but no.
Haven't seen it, but no. Here's what I'm guessing is that there are multiple vampires, and the interview is coming from the audience's perspective, from the camera. And these vampires all live in the same house together. They're roommates. Follows them around. It's a little bit of a comedy.
Yeah, so I see where we're going wrong already. You're describing What We Do in the Shadows.
Oh, I would love if we were watching that.
Me too. I love that movie, but we've both seen it.
Damn.
No, I think this movie, I do think there are multiple vampires, and I think they're all buddies. I think they know each other.
I think they have
I think they might live together.
Posh, rich people interactions where they kind of neg on each other. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's somewhat right. I know from seeing like screenshots and stuff that it's like a lot of like frilly lace blouses and stuff.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of screenshots of this movie.
Yeah. So it seems like it's all about, aristocratic vampires in like the 18th, 19th century. I don't know.
Is this just Pride and Prejudice with vampires?
Probably.
Doesn't help
know.
that I haven't seen Pride and Prejudice, so.
Yeah, I also haven't. But
next time on Culture Gas.
Yeah, I don't know. I know. So here's what I know about this movie.
Yeah.
Tom Cruise is in it.
I knew that too.
Brad Pitt is in it.
I couldn't remember if it was Brad Pitt or Heath Ledger.
Oh, interesting. I think this was before Heath Ledger was like a respected actor.
When was that? Knight's Tale, right?
Yeah, that's A Knight's Tale is when everyone sat up and took notice of Heath Ledger.
It was literally just Batman, right?
No, Brokeback Mountain. Brokeback Mountain is far and away his best.
I thought Brad Pitt was in that movie. I didn't actually confuse them in this scenario. You are correct. That is his best performance in my opinion as well. Yeah. However, I just think that people are obsessed with Heath Ledger's performance in The Joker, which is great. But it's easier to act insane.
Right. So the other person that I know who is in this movie is Kirsten Dunst.
Yes,
she's a little baby. She's a child in this movie. I think she was like 14 or something when she shot it.
Yeah, I see that in the screenshots.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how I feel about that. I'm not a big Kirsten Dunst fan.
Oh, I think she's great. Actually, I really love her.
Like Wimbledon or something?
No,
I think Wimbledon.
I don't know. I haven't seen that. But I have seen Bring It On. That's a great movie. I genuinely think Bring It On is a good movie. But
I'm not
she's
gonna
also
engage with you.
she's also good in the Fargo TV show. I thought.
Oh, I've never seen it because
Yeah, you don't like Fargo. Yeah, I feel like there's something else that I can't think of now.
Spider-Man.
Oh, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. I think she's very good in that as well. She is a
We've
very
been over that.
difficult
I can't-
role.
Can't keep those movies straight.
Oh yeah, I don't think you've seen that one either, right? The Jim Carrey.
I don't know. Oh, that one's Jim Carrey?
Yeah.
Is that the one where he's trapped in the world, everyone's watching him over the TV, and he's got tons of animals around him,
No.
and he can't tell
That's
can't tell
Truman
a
Show.
lie.
That's the Truman Show, Ace Ventura, and Liar Liar blended into one premise.
And he's got a green mask on.
Yeah, that's The Mask.
Wow.
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I guess beyond those casting, the cast of the movie, that's all I really know about it. I
Got
know,
vampires, got those people.
yeah, I do know that the book was also, or the movie was based on a book.
There's a book?
Yeah, written by Anne Rice, who wrote a whole series of
vampires.
vampire novels. Yeah,
She's known for vampire novels.
But-
I do know that. I know nothing about books.
the
though.
reason I know about her is that in the mid 2000s, I believe, she became a born again Christian and renounced all the vampire stuff that she had written as like satanic. And
You're known for vampire novels.
yeah, and
Lean
she wrote,
into it, woman.
She wrote like a novel that was like a fictionalized account of like what Jesus might have done between childhood and his 30s, because there's like a huge gap in the Bible. I don't know how much you know about the Bible, but there's a huge gap in the Bible between age like 9 and 33 where you have no idea what Jesus was up to.
Yeah, it's actually one of 3 books I've ever read.
No, you haven't. Christians haven't even read the Bible.
Yeah, that's why I read it, so I can talk to them about it.
But yeah, so the reason why I know she wrote that book is because I was forced to read it as summer reading in high school. But
Wait, which book? The renounced.
the Jesus
okay.
one, yeah. And what
I
was
was
hilarious?
like, this movie, this book.
What was hilarious was that the Jesus book was like horrible. It was horribly written and so bad and boring, and I just didn't
Needed
want to read
vampires.
it. So I just didn't read it, and neither did anybody else in the class. And when we showed up to talk about it, when school started, it became very clear very quickly that nobody had read it. And one of my classmates, who was very religious, at least at the time, said that he found it offensive to be like speculating about what happened to Jesus and like this stuff that was left out of the Bible for a reason. So everyone in the class was just like, yeah, I also thought it was offensive and that's why I didn't read it. It was intentional. I wasn't just being lazy.
Wow, that's a great story, Greg.
Okay, so I'm guessing it wasn't.
No, it was. It was genuine. I just come across like an asshole all the time.
Yeah,
It was a good story. I enjoyed it.
Okay, I'm just feeling like you're just being even more sarcastic now.
I'm not. I don't know how to make it sound better.
All right, let's move on. You're
Okay,
gonna make me feel so bad about myself.
God damn it, Greg. What's your favorite piece of vampire media? Someone hates vampires.
I just don't love monster movies, but probably What We Do in the Shadows, like the movie, not the TV. I mean, the TV show's good, but the movie I think is better.
Really?
Yeah,
I love the TV show version.
I do too. I just would rather watch the movie.
It's between What We Do in the Shadows and probably Midnight Mass. Spoiler alert. Ooh, crap.
Oh, yeah.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, mild spoiler. I mean, it's not like they ever say the word vampire on that show, though. It's left pretty. It's up to you as the audience to put it together at whatever point you figure it out. So I think most people figure it out within the first episode. But But what I really liked about Midnight Mass is the way it really highlights the similarities between vampirism and Catholicism.
Exactly.
They're basically the same thing. Like, Jesus is just like, here, drink my blood, and you'll live forever. That's the exact same deal that vampires give you.
Oh, man.
Like, if someone says, drink my blood and you'll never die, it could, like, 50-50 odds if it's Jesus or a vampire.
Wow.
Could go either way.
Yeah, that's why I only trust when they're offering Kool-Aid. Yeah.
So, Mike, I feel like you brought this up on an earlier episode, but why haven't you seen this movie?
I didn't like watching movies that my sister enjoyed.
Right, because she was a gothic person.
Because she's a gothic person. She's basically a gargoyle.
Exactly.
I guess I didn't find my sister as cool as you found your sister.
Right.
She collected mold. Like, no.
What you mean? Like mold was just like collecting on her person, or she went out of her way to
jars of mold in the basement collecting.
She was crying out for help, huh?
Yeah.
She needed something, huh?
She needed something.
These all seem like things that you do when you're not getting the attention you need.
Yeah. Well, I was the baby. Everyone was paying attention to me.
Right. Yeah. That checks.
Yeah. So I didn't watch this movie because of that. It was something. I remember she had it on VHS. I'm pretty sure I taped over it. I think I mentioned this earlier on too.
So rude.
I think I accidentally taped over it trying to record the Timon and Pumbaa show.
Right. Yeah.
But I remember seeing clips of this because she watched it all the time.
Yeah, and you just weren't interested because you didn't want anything to do with what she liked.
I mean, I had Lion King to watch, and
right.
and War is a Virtue. Like, I had no time for this movie at that time.
Yeah, that's fair. I think for me, I'm not totally sure. I know. I guess I know why I didn't watch this movie. It just sounded boring because it's just about vampires living in, like, it's like a period drama, It's like frilly costumes and I don't know. I'm just like, is this going to be Jane Austen with vampires? I don't know. Mm-hmm. We'll see.
We'll see. I'm just excited to watch a better Tom Cruise movie.
Yeah. Yep. I'm excited to watch something that's not just like about like dudes.
I think it might be, though.
It is, but I think there's going to be women in it, too. I guess we'll see. Because it's written by a woman, I just have to imagine that there's, like, it's not all men, right? I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see. All right. Let's go watch this interview.
Let's do it.
Documentary? Is it a documentary?
Yeah, it's a documentary. It's a Hot Ones interview. Except instead of spicy wings, it's like people who just ate spicy wings. And they just bite the neck of the person who just ate something spicy.
Do you think it's that? It's like they're interviewing the vampire and how the blood tasted?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
How was that blood?
Probably.
Oh, that was hot. Temperature, real bad.
Woo! Wow, that was a hot one. Yeah.
I'd watch that.
I mean, there's a reason why Hot Ones is a success, right?
Yeah. All right, let's go watch this then.
Let's do it. Let's watch it right now.
Culture Gap.
Welcome back. We just watched Interview with the Vampire.
The Vampire Chronicles.
The Vampire Chronicles. It's funny that nobody talks about that being the full title of this movie.
I know. I thought I was watching the wrong movie.
Me too. I was like, oh, is there some sequel I didn't know about? And I had to double check to make sure it was the right one.
Or like a TV series or something. I don't know.
Right. The Vampire Chronicles, it sounds very similar to an actual teen vampire TV show that was on the air.
Yeah, it really does. The Vampire Diaries.
Yep. So what did you think of Interview with the Vampire, The Vampire Chronicles of Narnia?
I'll tell you what I thought is I had to take a cold shower.
Yeah, this movie was horny. This is like
Yes, it was.
the horniest movie I've watched in a long time.
What do I think? Let's get this right off the bat, Greg. This is definitely an erotic novel, right? Put on screen. This is an adaptation of 50 Shades of Grey Vampire.
A porn novel, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think a lot of it is just like the nature of vampires, but yeah, I certainly think this was like the beginning of vampires being sexy, like Twilight and True Blood and stuff, I think are, heavily influenced by Anne Rice's writing.
Yeah. And now that that's out of the way, I'm here for it.
Yeah, I kind of enjoyed this movie.
Me too.
A lot of the eroticism was, was like very homoerotic too, which I thought was kind of interesting. Like this movie is very pansexual, I guess. Like the characters seem to just be up for anything, really. It's like, there's like, I mean, even at the beginning when Tom Cruise is turning Brad Pitt into a vampire, he like cradles him in his arms and lifts him into the air. It's like kissing his neck.
Oh, yeah.
It's like very, very intimate.
There was a lot of that.
Yeah. But then, later they like share a woman together who's like clearly in the throes of ecstasy, even though she's dying. She's acting like she's having an orgasm. It's all that, great vampire stuff where it's like, sex and death at the same time.
Yep.
Wow. Okay. Did you just short out?
I think I did. I'm processing it. So here's the deal with this movie. I'm still processing it.
Same.
Right?
Same.
It was long. I watched it yesterday.
I watched it today.
So I've had some time.
Yeah.
But I felt like there were moments in that movie where I was like, this is strange pacing. Things are speeding up and slowing down
Right.
to the point where it felt like you were just stuck in the same scene for so long, and then all of a sudden the story would progress like years and things would change drastically.
Yeah. I'm guessing part of that is just the difficulties in adapting a novel to like a 2-hour film is just,
Yeah.
you have to stay in certain moments long enough to tell the story of it. But like, there's like very discrete sections that they have to get through. But in each section, there's stuff that they have to linger on. So I think what you're describing is like, the movie will suddenly just like go into fast forward in order to get us into the next segment where we're then going to spend time, with the characters in scenes. But you're right that those transitions will be like, so 30 years went by.
Yeah. So I guess at the time of watching it, I felt like it was kind of strange while I was watching it. But then afterwards, when I was thinking about it more, I'm like, well, it kind of successfully does what the movie's trying to do.
Right.
It's trying to make you feel what a vampire would feel, a self-loathing vampire would feel. Like he's a brooding vampire that hates killing, and
Right.
He talks about loneliness and this just despair that you have to sit in, and I think the movie does that successfully with that pacing.
Right, because it forces you to be stuck in those moments with Louis.
Yeah, because if you think about it, if you're a vampire, you're like doing this stuff for years.
Yeah.
Like you're nothing. Everyone you know is dying around you except
Other vampires.
the terrible person you live with. Like
the abuser that you're stuck in a relationship with.
Exactly. And your psycho daughter.
Right. Yeah, it's true.
So, and that kind of the point where it goes fast again. Like that's probably how it felt to be a vampire. Like nothing's happening forever. It's getting bored. It's getting lonely. And then something crazy big happens.
Right. Yeah, I did admire that this movie really grapples with the downsides of being a vampire. Like, it's not just like, oh, vampires are this, like, sexy, thing that would be so fun to just, like, be on this power trip and be immortal. It's like, no, being immortal fucking sucks. Like, you get bored, you lose touch with humanity, you don't understand what the world is as it changes around you because you're too old to recognize like modernity and how to operate within it.
Yeah. You have to struggle with any lingering morality that you have, or
Right.
just him talking about not being able to see colors anymore because he only exists at night.
Yeah. That was
It's just
interesting.
everything is just tragic. And especially when you get into this stuff with Claudia, because her story is
I know.
the most tragic.
Or
Like,
Claudia. Yeah, I mean, like,
Oh my
Claudia
God.
is psycho, but you're like, well, she was like a very young child when she was turned. She didn't know anything other than indiscriminate killing. So you kind of feel for her. It's like, yeah, she's crazy and has no remorse, but you kind of understand why. It's like she never had a chance to actually develop a sense of morality.
yeah, and you forget that she's not a child at some point, because at one point 30 years have passed.
Right.
And, Tom Cruise is still getting her dolls every night or every year for her birthday.
Yeah.
And
So
she's just go ahead.
yeah, I mean, there's a lot I want to say about Claudia. I guess firstly,
Yeah.
I'll say I think part of that is not just the way the movie's written. I also think it's Kirsten Dunst's performance is like really good in this movie. She was, I think, 10 or 12 when she shot this, and I think she's very, very convincing as being. Firstly, I mean, when we first meet her as like a very young child, it's a little bit like you seem slightly too old to be this naive. But then when she is like this, the older version of herself, I think she does a really good job of conveying this feeling that she is like an adult just in a child's body. Who never really experienced the real world, but is, like 40 something now and just like has the body of a child. And the other thing though that I really thought Kirsten Dunst was good at was delivering the flowery dialogue in this movie, because it's like the dialogue in this movie is not how human beings speak. And she does a really good job of delivering it in a way that feels natural and, just like, just a very naturalistic delivery of these lines that are very difficult to make sound natural. I was impressed with her in this.
Yeah. It was hard to tell what was an artistic choice for the dialogue and what was of the period of time.
Right.
Because it's so long ago.
Yeah, that's true. And I think that's what they were going for, was they were aiming for this kind of like, old school period drama, kind of like borderline Shakespearean kind of dialogue.
Yeah. She was fantastic. And I want to continue that trend here and say that I don't know if Tom Cruise, I don't want to say this is his best performance, but this is certainly my favorite performance of his.
I agree. I think he was great in this. He's clearly having so much fun in the role. Like you can just, and there's actual effort put into it. Like a lot of times I think with Tom Cruise, he's just phoning it in, just doing the bare minimum. And this is him like really going for it, having a blast with the role. I totally agree. I thought he was great.
Yeah, everyone. I think, and I said everyone, but really Brad Pitt I think was great too. However, I think Tom Cruise kind of stole the show.
Yeah.
In any scene he was in, unfortunately.
I agree. I think Tom Cruise and Kirsten Dunst were amazing, and I thought Brad Pitt was a little stilted. Apparently, though, Brad Pitt had a really bad time on this movie, so that might be part of it.
I read that, yeah. Being in the dark every time you film sounds terrible.
And I think the makeup was really rough, too. I think it was like 3 hours of makeup a day or something.
Oh, God.
But yeah, so what's funny about Tom Cruise being cast in this role is that Anne Rice was furious when Tom Cruise was cast because she said it was a crime against casting. And
I probably would have agreed with her before I watched this.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought Tom Cruise would be the right person for this role. But
No, it sounds goofy.
yeah, it sounds horrible. But she said that then someone sent her a VHS copy later that she watched, and she was so impressed with Tom Cruise that she wrote him a letter of apology. She was like, oh
great.
man, I had no faith in him, but he knocked it out of the park. And I agree.
Yeah. Very surprising.
So this movie I thought was interesting also in... So I kind of alluded to the homoeroticism already, but in general, this is a very queer movie, not just in a gay way, but there's like also a point where Claudia even says to Louis, like, you're my mother and my father. And it's like, there's this new makeshift family with like 2 dads and a daughter. And like, but then there's like this sort of romance between Louis and Armand later. And even Claudia is like, you know, staring at that woman, that naked woman who she wants to be. And then she like keeps the woman's corpse in her bed for like years because she's just like obsessed with this female body that she can never have.
Wow.
I don't know. I just that is what really got me through this movie. Like my big concern before I started watching this was that it was going to be a boring movie. I was like, you know, as we talked about in the intro, I was like, is this Jane Austen with vampires? And it's not. It is so much pulpier than that. It's like this is just like a lurid, like pulpy ass movie. Like there's like multiple like buildings burning down. There's like decapitations and so much blood and sex, and it's really wild actually. But the thing that got me through even the slower scenes was just reading it as a queer narrative, and there's so much to read into. And I think there's a little bit of a danger with like comparing queerness to vampirism because I don't think they're the same. One of them requires murdering people and the other one doesn't hurt anyone at all. But yeah, I still thought it was interesting.
No, I'm glad you brought that up because I had lots of similar thoughts, but wrote down that I wasn't going to talk about it because it's better left to you to talk about.
That's fair.
That was real interesting because they even were worried about like audiences thinking, you know, being uncomfortable with how gay it was, and then no one cared.
Yeah,
when it came out.
Cared.
Yeah.
This movie made so much money.
So much.
Which is wild to me because watching this movie, I was like, this should have no mainstream appeal at all.
I think it's vampires, man.
It's so straight. It's like a very gory, bloody, violent movie with tons of sexuality and like one of the most prominent storylines in the film is about the corruption of a child, like, both like sexually and violently. Like it is very like vampirism in this movie is very explicitly sexual, right? Like every time a vampire bites someone, it is sexual, and being turned into a vampire is a sexual exchange of fluids. Like it is like vampirism in this movie is equated with sexuality. So the fact that Lestat and Louis turn this child into a vampire is like this very clear metaphor for like grooming and abusing children sexually, which is like really fucked up. And it's really, that's why I say it's so strange that this movie did so well. But I think there's something really interesting about it too, in the way that, like I was saying, like Claudia can't ever grow up because of this trauma that she endured. And she looks at other women and says like, I will never be that. I wish I could be that, because her innocence was taken from her by these 2 older men. And, you know, as I said earlier, she never had a chance to develop a sense of morality. Right. And like this idea of like hurt people, the people who experience trauma and abuse often then perpetrate abuse towards others later in life. And that's just exactly what we see with Claudia. Like it's very clearly this narrative with Claudia, narrative about loss of innocence. I mean, Lestat even at one point is like, gentle, you're so innocent. Like, don't overdo it. You know, Lestat needs her to be innocent while simultaneously robbing her of her innocence.
Yeah, he's literally treating her like a doll in this movie.
Yeah, he dresses her like a doll and won't let, even 30 years later, he won't let her grow up because he's still fetishizing her youth and her innocence, even though he's already taken them away from her.
Yeah, and then there's the other weird side of this, which is her relationship with Louis, in that she's like, both like, this is my father and I'm in love with him, which is very strange.
Right.
It's a very strange relationship.
Yeah, it's really unclear what exactly those feelings are between the two.
Yeah, and then there was, I mean, because then the jealousy came up when Armand came into the picture, which, by the way, this was a note for me, kind of a negative, is I didn't understand the entire Armand plot in this movie. I don't know if I missed something. I don't know.
Okay, what didn't you understand?
I don't know why he had this group of henchmen living there, or what his motives were compared to what the people under him were doing. It just didn't seem to line up. Like he lost control over them or something.
So here's generally how I see it. Armand is their leader, but he is so old. He's like 400 years old that he's just gotten bored with absolutely everything. He doesn't even like the vampires he hangs out with, and he doesn't understand modernity or what people are like now or how the world operates. And when he meets Brad Pitt, he's like, oh my God, this guy is still pretty young. He's not caught up in all this like existing vampire bullshit. He is my link to the world. He's what's going to reignite the flame within me that has gone out. And Armand's lackeys go out of their way to kill Claudia because Claudia has killed, they believe Claudia killed Lestat.
How did they find out
that's
about
a crime.
that? Because it's not true at that point in time, which we don't know as the audience.
Well, yeah, we don't know. I mean, the characters believe that Lestat is dead. My guess is that they read someone's mind. Because they established earlier on that vampires
they could read
can
her minds. Yeah.
Wow. So then they kill Claudia, and Armand rescues Louis because he still wants Louis as his, connection to the rest of the world. It's like, the way a lot of people and like older people will sometimes date a younger person because it's like helps them feel a sense of youth or connection to, a changing world that they don't understand necessarily.
Is that why?
I think it's kind of like that.
I thought it was just because it's like a young type body.
Well, I've been in a number of age disparate relationships, and I would say the motivations definitely vary. But yeah, a lot of times it's like, the younger person will expose you to new things you didn't necessarily know about, or, explain why things work the way they do now, that sort of thing.
Is this how we have to figure out what Gen Zers are talking about?
Yeah, we're gonna need our own Louis to adopt.
Wow. Or our own Claudia.
Oh boy. I don't want a Claudia.
I've already got one.
Oh?
Oh.
I did really like Tom Cruise's murder thimble in this movie.
Oh yeah, that thing started to bother me after a while. I'm definitely squeamish. So the neck biting, the wrist biting, and then that thing really bothered me.
You didn't like that, huh? Yeah, I've become desensitized to this kind of stuff in movies, so it didn't bother me.
Not me. It was definitely a weak point for me. I mean, I'm not saying it's bad. It was definitely cool.
Yeah.
But I just did not do well.
I just thought it was funny that he has this little like sharp metal thing on the tip of his thumb that's like just for murdering people, just to like open up a vein and drink from them. I just thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, I also really like that he's kind of a snob in the way he goes about his vampirism. I mean, he's just wild and crazy and having a blast doing it, but he's also like only wants to feed on unique people kind of thing, or aristocrats or twins.
Right. Yeah, twins.
Did you know in that scene where she kills him after the twin boys, did you know that was an animatronic Lestat?
I read that afterward, and it made sense. There was one shot that looked a little animatronic.
Yeah.
Where he was just like
He's like shaking and like
hemorrhaging blood.
I did not
Like an
know that
insane amount of blood.
at the time. That's funny. I really liked the costumes and set design of this movie.
I totally agree. I was amazed at the budget on this movie.
Right?
Like, the sets are gorgeous, the costumes are amazing, and then there's also like a lot of stunts and big set pieces. Like I mentioned, multiple buildings burn all the way down. There's like a lot of stuff that happens in this movie, and like I have to imagine they built a lot of this from scratch. Like some of those like old timey towns in New Orleans and stuff like that looked like it was built from scratch.
And like super good use of CGI at that point too, because all the ships in the bay were all CGI. So those weren't real. They just made them look like that at night looked great with all the old timey ships there. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Especially in 1994. I mean, CGI was just, I mean, Jurassic Park came out the year before, and that was like a huge milestone for CG.
What do you like better, animatronic T-Rex or animatronic Lestat?
Ooh, don't make me pick.
Wow.
Yeah, one thing I also really loved this movie was Brad Pitt fucking people up with a scythe.
It got crazy.
Movie, yeah, he like decides to burn all the vampires alive, but then he stands outside their coffins so that as they emerge, he can just like decapitate them. It's so brutal.
Yeah, it's also, this is kind of our point towards action movies, and I said action's kind of bad when I don't know the stakes of it. And at some point, I started questioning. Well, they keep saying vampires can't die, but like, how can they die?
Seems like there's a lot of ways.
A lot of ways.
Seems like they can burn to death. They can die in the sun. They can be
Drinking
decapitated.
dead blood.
Yeah, they can drink dead blood and die. But Lestat apparently will just survive all of that.
I loved that. Him just coming back, like, beaten down every time.
Yep. Yeah, he can't be killed.
How'd you feel about the ending with him coming back one final time?
I don't know. It was fine. It was, I don't know. It's like a classic. That's like a classic way to end a horror movie. And this is more of like gothic horror. I wouldn't call this like a straight up horror movie, but
now you're saying gothic and horror, two words in which you harassed me for using.
Well, there was a different context when you were using them.
Correctly.
But yeah, I don't know. It was fine. It's like, I mean, how else would this movie end, really? I guess is the question. Is it really just Christian Slater drives off into the sunset and publishes a story about this that no one will ever believe?
Yeah.
I don't know.
And at first I thought they just brought Tom Cruise back alive just for some fun ending like that. And the more I thought about it, I'm like, well, this is the story continuing on. It's the same thing he always has to experience. There's this thing chasing him no matter what he does, like haunting him. And it's just like, this is just one other period of time that this is happening in.
Yeah. And going back to what we were talking about with, vampires' obsession with youth and, for the same reason that Armand and Lestat were both obsessed with Louis and wanted to, keep him around as a companion for his youth and his connection to the modern world. That's like exactly what Lestat says he's going to do to Christian Slater in the car. He's like, you're going to be my connection to this new world, like the 80s or whatever. You're going to teach me what it's like in the 80s. But yeah, it's funny that my expectations for this movie were, as I mentioned, I was worried it was going to be like a boring, just period drama that just happened to have some vampires in it. And there was a point where Brad Pitt like cuts a guy in half with a scythe and like his top half lands on the floor and it's all like bloody and gross. And I was like, I can't believe I thought this movie was going to be boring. I guess, I think though, my biggest complaint with this movie is sort of goes back to that though. It's just that this movie feels very nihilistic overall. Like it's very cynical. It's very dark. It's just kind of like Yeah, shit sucks, huh? And it never gets better.
Yeah, and it's narrated and follows a character that's like narrated by and follows a character that's super dull and brooding. So
Right. Yeah.
it adds to what you think would be boring, but really isn't.
Yeah, but just like I found it hard to like fully connect with this movie or fall in love with it because the movie is its worldview is so bleak. It has just a very like negative view of everything. Like
Greg, everything you tell me to watch has that view in it. I feel like you love these depressing, dark movies. How are you? What do you mean you can't fall in love with that?
I don't think that's true. What did I tell you to watch that was bleak and depressing?
Like everything, those Midnight Mass, Haunting a Hill House, that show with that dude you really like. I can't remember what it's called. It's one of your favorite shows.
The Leftovers?
The Leftovers. Swiss Army Man.
So here's what I would say about
It's
all of those
bleak and
movies.
dark.
Here's what I would say about all of those examples you gave. They are dark, but they look for the hope amidst the bleakness. Like all of those movies and shows, there is a thread, there's like a glimmer of of positivity and hope. And it's more an examination of how human beings cope with like grief and loss and the, negative things in the world. My issue with this movie is that there's very rarely any moments that like mitigate the darkness. Like there's a little bit of like Claudia and Louis sort of clinging to one another as emotional support later in their lives. Mm-hmm. But that ends super tragically, obviously. And it's also like a fucked up relationship from the start anyway. So you never feel great about it. I just wish this movie, I guess, had a little bit more of like, like the sort of indomitable human spirit in the face of overwhelming bleakness kind of thing.
I want to counter that for a moment because, first of all, these aren't humans. These are vampires. And the reason I'm saying that is because the point is that being a vampire is dark and bleak and terrible. And the reason for that is because he lost everything that was human. So it kind of is a positive look on actual humanity and mortality. Like it has a positive view of, seeing the colors in the movies for the first time or having like those connections with people. These are things that mortality has that vampirism doesn't. So it makes you realize that, what we do have is good. So I don't know if the general outlook is negative or just like they're showing you the opposite through the vampire lens. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good point. It definitely, highlights the issues with immortality and therefore makes you think about why mortality is so important. You kind of need mortality to make life valuable. Because once you're immortal, life isn't really valuable anymore.
Right.
Which I guess is kind of the point of this movie.
Are you ready for a little game?
I'm more than ready for a game.
We created a game called Trial by Trivia, Greg. And in this game, I give you 5 trivia questions. And this is a game where if you get everything right, literally nothing happens. Nothing.
Oh my God.
No stakes. No stakes at all.
Big stakes.
Stakes through your heart.
Big stake through the heart.
Let's amp the stakes of this because we just talked about mortality being valuable. Like you need to we need higher stakes. So what if you don't get every question right?
I die.
You die.
I love it. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Question 1.
Yep.
What movie topped the domestic box office in 1994 when this movie was released? Remember, at any time, you can phone in a hint.
I can.
Yeah.
I can phone in a hint.
Yeah.
Okay, let's phone in a hint. Boop, boop, beep, boop, beep, boop, beep, boop. Ring, ring.
Hello? Okay, we just to answer the...
You have to answer the phone.
I did.
Ring.
Hello?
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 Who's there?
It's your boy. I love this movie.
Who is that?
This
my
is
boy.
Oh, sorry. This is your boy Mike.
Which Mike?
Mike Morin. You have other Mikes?
Oh, Mike Morin.
What are the chances you have other friends named Mike?
I thought this was a famous person named Mike.
Oh.
Who's saying, this is my favorite movie.
This is Mike Birbiglia. This is
Mike Birbiglia.
Birbiglia.
Okay, yeah. So this is Mike Birbiglia's favorite movie.
Is that his name?
Yeah. So
Sorry,
this is one of...
Mike Morin, me.
Yeah.
You can see me right now, right? On this.
I can see you.
Me.
Yes.
It's one of my favorite movies.
Okay. One of your favorites. Came out in 1994.
Boom.
And it topped the box office.
Yes.
I'm gonna guess Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh, you did.
Fuck.
Stake through the heart. Oh man. The movie is The Lion King.
Oh, wow, that came out in 94? I thought that was later in the 90s.
So you got it wrong. So
I'm going to die at the end of this segment.
yeah, but to make the last moments of your life better, let's continue on and do the rest
Let's
of the
finish
four.
the game at least, yeah.
How old was Kirsten Dunst in the making of this movie? I didn't want to correct you when you
So
said it
here's the
earlier.
issue. I read two conflicting reports.
Okay, let me rephrase the question then.
Yep.
Kirsten Dunst had her first on-screen kiss with Brad Pitt in this movie. How old was she when she made that kiss?
Again, I saw two conflicting quotes from Kirsten Dunst. One where she said she was 10 years old and one where she said she was 12 years old. But I'm going to go with 12 years old because that's the one that I saw more than once.
Nuts. I saw 11 multiple times.
What?
Yeah. Well, it's in between 10 and 12. I'll tell you what.
I guess that's true.
We won't count this one against you.
Yeah. I think, unfortunately,
Okay, so
this one is... There's conflicting information out there.
The important part is that she had her first on-screen kiss when she was that age, which is...
Yeah.
I know it's for a movie, but how is that legal
weird.
in that context either way?
Like... Because it's not a real kiss, I guess. I don't know.
But it is. I don't...
I mean... I think as long as you film yourself doing it, it's totally legal to kiss children.
As long as you film yourself doing it is the loophole to a lot of things.
Yeah. But yeah, I did read that Kirsten Dunst said that she thought it was really weird and uncomfortable and gross, and that she thought that Brad Pitt had cooties.
Yeah, he was disgusting because, quote unquote, he had long hippie-ish hair. I tell you what, though, I understand why my sister liked this movie now. Remember I told you this was one of her favorites.
It was so sexy. Yeah.
This dude's just like some Kurt Cobain vampire dude. Of course she loved this movie.
Yeah. You know, the other thing that I read that might have made Kirsten Dunst repulsed by Brad Pitt was apparently Brad Pitt's BO was so bad on set that Tom Cruise and him got into multiple arguments about it.
Wow, he's Post Malone in it?
Yeah, apparently Brad Pitt was real stinky on this movie.
Wow.
And Tom Cruise was not happy about it. So yeah, just like a smelly guy with long hippie-ish hair trying to kiss an 11-year-old. I don't blame Kirsten Dunst for not being into it. Yeah. She said people were like, "Oh my God, I'm so jealous you got to kiss Brad Pitt." And she was like, "It was gross."
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Question 3, because we're in the middle of trial by trivia, in case you forgot. Tom Cruise killed it in the role of Lestat in this movie. Upon finishing this movie, what was his next role?
His next role.
I don't expect you to know the name of the character, so I'm fine with you naming the movie.
Oh, I thought you were just expecting me to name the movie.
Well, the stakes are pretty low at this point, so.
That's true. I don't know. Maybe Mission Impossible.
Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah.
You got it.
His name is Ethan something.
Ethan Hunt. Mike Hunt.
That's the Mike who was calling.
That's the Mike who's calling. It's Mike. Mike who?
question.
Question 4. While Louis is in the movie theater, he states that he sees the long lost color blue again. What is the movie he sees it in?
Superman.
Yeah. Wow. All right.
1979.
I didn't write it down, so I can't confirm whether you're right or wrong. I'm going to trust you on this one.
78 or 79, one of those two.
Question 5, Greg.
Yeah.
Last one to see if you're still dead. Tell you what.
I'm dead.
If you get this one right, I'll let you live.
What?
Yeah. It all comes down to this. Name a movie.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the whole question. I know you can do that. that Brad Pitt starred in.
Yeah. Yep.
Either the year before or after this movie.
12 Monkeys.
Oh, we got it.
Yeah.
Oh, you get to live. How do you feel about your mortality now? Did that give you some perspective?
Yeah, now that I've had a brush with death, I value life so much more.
Man, I was thinking all the ways I could kill you.
So I've got a piece of trivia for you.
Oh, is it a question? Do I get to answer it?
Yeah. I got a trivia question for you.
Do I die?
Can you name the two actors who were supposed to play the role of Lestat before Tom Cruise was cast?
Supposed to play. One of them is Lincoln. Daniel Day-Lewis.
Lincoln is the role you pull for. Of course.
Who else are you gonna say?
Daniel Plainview from There Will Be Blood.
I don't know his name in that movie.
Oh boy! All right.
Abraham Lincoln is a more notable name than Daniel
Plainview.
Plainview.
I don't know.
Really? Abraham Lincoln, Greg.
An average person is probably going to know Daniel Plainview over Abraham Lincoln.
What is he on the 2-cent coin or something?
Yeah, exactly.
Abraham Lincoln's on every penny out there.
News to me.
All right, Daniel Day-Lewis.
That's correct.
Daniel Day-Lewis.
He was cast in the role and dropped out a few weeks before filming. Then they offered it to another actor who turned it down.
I want to phone a hint.
You want to phone a hint?
Yeah, phone me a hint. Ring, ring. Beep, beep, beep.
Oh, I think I missed it. It only rang once, so I didn't get a chance to answer.
You have one new voicemail.
Okay, let me listen to this voicemail. Hold on, let me hit play. Boop.
Ow. Shit.
Okay, I guess it's just silence. Oh. Someone must have butt dialed me. I don't know.
Oh, whoops. Let me call again. What's my hint? God damn it.
You have to call the hotline if you want to get a hint.
Ring.
I don't know what to tell you. It only rang once. I don't know what's going on with my phone.
Forget it. I don't know who the actor is.
You do.
All right.
All right. I'm going to call in a hint on your behalf.
Yeah.
Boop, boop, beep, boop, beep, boop, boop. Bring, bring. Hello?
You're calling yourself, you idiot.
Hello?
Hello?
Why am I hearing this feedback loop?
Hello?
Hello.
Hey,
okay.
Hey, you got Mike on the line here.
Oh. Hey, Mike who?
Hunt from Mission Impossible.
Oh, what's up, Mike Hunt?
Oh, I'm doing great. I just need a hint to a question that I've been asked.
Yeah, so the hint for this one is that your boy really loves this actor.
Who's your boy? This is
Mike.
Mike who?
Mike Morin.
Oh, this is some weird level of inception. Am I talking to me?
This is one of Mike Morin's favorite actors.
Oh, Tom Holland. Wasn't even
Tom
born
Holland
yet.
was not alive yet.
You don't even know who my favorite actors are.
I
Johnny
absolutely
Depp.
know at least. Yeah, there you go. You got there. It was Johnny Depp.
Wow.
Could you imagine Johnny Depp playing Lestat?
What
a boring version of that character that would be.
I disagree.
He would just be all pale and moody. It would just be Edward Scissorhands. Ugh.
I don't like anything you're saying right now.
He would have just tried to be all quirky.
What's your beef with Johnny Depp?
I just don't like him. I had a time when I liked Johnny Depp, but I guess I just turned on him because I think a lot of his roles are very samey. Like, he just, like, has one type of acting that he does.
Wow. That's the craziest shit I've ever Amber heard.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
Let's finish this up, Greg.
Wow.
I want to hear what you thought about this movie. Give me a rating on a scale of 1 to 10.
Yeah, so this movie...
10 being the highest.
Oh, I thought it was the other way around. Okay. So this movie...
1 being the lowest.
This is a little tricky because I feel like I need more time to really think about this movie and what I thought about it.
You want to rate it next week?
No, I want to rate it now. But I just want to say that as a caveat for my score.
I feel the same way.
I might like this movie more or less with time. I don't know. But having just watched it a few hours ago, I would say it was a lot better than I expected. It was very engaging, great production value, good performances. My only complaint is just that it's, as I said, a little bit nihilistic and can just be, bleak to the point of its exhaustion at times. But overall, I really liked it, and I gave it a 7 out of 10.
Wow. Following up what you said there, almost exactly the way you feel about it, except for the nihilistic part.
Yeah, you were into that.
Yeah, more so, I kind of explained it, how I don't think it's the point, but...
Right.
Also, it had the boob bite, which we didn't talk about.
Oh, yeah, the boob bite.
Which is a positive for me.
Yeah, that's what your baby be doing, right?
Yeah. Makes you terrified to breastfeed. I'm going to give it an 8.
Wow, you really liked it.
I think I did. The more I think about it, the more... I don't know, I kind of like that I'm still thinking about it.
There is a lot to dissect about this movie. That's what I really appreciated about it. I think more so than, honestly, any of the other movies we've covered. This has depth to it. Like, what we've been covering so far, for the most part, are like big blockbuster movies that don't have a lot of substance.
Right.
But this is something I could write an essay about this.
Do it.
This movie.
We'll read it on a special episode.
Like, there's a lot to dig into with this movie from multiple perspectives. I mean, we even touched on some of it here with, like, queerness and parenthood and sexual abuse and...
breastfeeding.
Breastfeeding. Yeah.
All right. Well, what movie are we doing next time on this podcast?
So, next time... we're going to break format again.
Oh, is it breaking format if we're actually doing it in a pattern?
I don't know. Who cares?
All right. Tell us what we're doing.
We're going to have Ray Olsen
on
the podcast.
Sweet
again,
Jesus. Everyone loves that episode with Ray Olsen.
Yeah, the Warriors of Virtue episode that nobody has listened to.
The people that listen to it love it, though.
Yeah, because it's a great ep. And Ray is a great guest.
Warriors of Virtue is not trending right now. Not the same way that Top Gun is.
Yeah, I don't think that's a movie quite as many people know about.
Yeah, they should. And they should know about Ray Olsen, because it's going to be fantastic to have him on again.
So we are going to have Ray on the podcast and talk to him about a movie he hasn't seen.
But both of us have seen.
We have. And it's a little movie that I love called Swiss Army Man.
Yeah. I'm excited to do this one. I actually only saw this movie for the first time in the last couple months. So
it's true.
I'm rewatching it very recently compared to when I saw it. But
I've seen this movie a few times because it's one of my top 3 favorite movies of all time. So
yeah, it was in your top 10 favorite movies. Therefore, it's in it could be in your top 3.
Yeah, it is in the top 3. As I just said.
I'm just saying 3 falls in the top 10.
Yeah. It's true. It's also in my top 50. It's also in my top 100.
Exactly.
So,
that's big numbers.
Yeah.
The bigger the number, the more impressive.
For sure.
It's up there.
It is. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun to talk with Ray about it.
Oh, so good.
Tune in next week when we talk with Mr. Ray Olson about Swiss Army Man.
Good night, sweet prince.
Culture Gap.
Is that from this movie?
That's when she slits his throat.
Oh, yeah.